Want to do some work on the Ford 2600 tractor? That's right. Previous owner brought me the carburetor. Let's open it up and clean this thing out, and we'll be one step closer to starting this thing up. Alright, this is a Holley, I don't know the model on it. I don't know if that's the model, 12R3589B, maybe. It's the first time I've seen an updraft Holley on a tractor, and it's a big sucker. You know, it's one of the larger updraft carburetors I've seen. So, never had one of these things apart. This looks like it's probably just looks like it's got a little screen in there. That's probably if it floods, it'll allow the fuel to drain out. That's my guess. And he said he had some fuel delivery problems with this tractor. You know, I don't know if it was carburetor related, or you know, it could have been fuel pump or fuel tank, or we don't really know. So he took the carb off to rebuild it. I don't know if he I didn't ask him if he had rebuilt this or what. You know, when I picked up the tractor, carburetor was not with it, and hold the carburetor. I think I'm shaking the table. And I don't want to shake y'all. Y'all are sitting on the table. Anyway, so the he dropped this off. I wasn't home when he dropped it off, and so I didn't get to ask him, you know, if he had this thing apart or not. It doesn't look like it's had a kit put in it. It doesn't look like it's had a fresh set of gaskets in a while. So I do have a kit for it. We're going to put a kit in it, and hopefully that will fix whatever the issues are with this thing. We're just taking the bowl off right now. It's had some kind of gasket material in there. It doesn't look too bad in here. It's pretty clean. Maybe they had it apart recently, cleaned it up. We'll pull the jets out, take a look. Jet's clear. Probably could have just bolted this thing on and it would have ran. Got a little check ball right there. It's moving around. We'll go ahead and take this thing off. Maybe we should look and see what my gasket kit has. Make sure it's the right kit as well. This is the kit I got. See what kind of parts it has, and make sure we've got everything we need to rebuild this thing. Probably, I don't know if it came with new jets. When they come with new jets, unless I have an issue with the old ones, I normally just put the old ones back in. I never know if the new ones are jetted appropriately, you know? If they're maybe a little more universal than the original ones. This is kind of odd. It came with the oh, that's a gasket. I thought it was a metal spacer. I mean, we got a new one of these things, but this one, I don't like this one. Well, I guess they're the same. Yeah, I was thinking it. Yeah. Anyway, it looks fine. And we'll just line up the. Oh, so this gasket encompasses this part too. Huh. Alright, that's good to know. So we gotta take that apart anyway to replace the bowl gasket. Which makes me wonder what they're using for a gasket in between these parts. Because surely it's got to draw fuel up through this piece here. And so if there's no gasket on there, how's it going to draw fuel? Right? That's my thinking. It's going to try to suck air, right? Because the jet was in here. If this piece is separate from the bowl with carb, it's going to have a gasket there. So, survey says, it looks like an accelerator pump and some kind of maybe gasket material, but no gasket. Yeah, I'm sure that was not working well. And we'll have to get a little piece of wire and run through there. And then, I'm not sure how this thing, oh, it's got a little pin through it. So, I guess that's kind of an accelerator pump or maybe some kind of little power valve type thing. Let's see if we can work the throttle if it... I mean, that's the choke, right? Yeah, this is the choke over here. This is the throttle. That has no effect on this. So this has got to be maybe some kind of power valve or something. Well, let's take the, shoot, I didn't bring any pliers out here. Let's see if I can just wiggle it out. Yeah, there we go. Should have brought some pliers. But, we're good. And needle. Guess we could have checked to see if that was holding first. It was. Alright, so let's see what we have. It looks like we have most of this thing here. Right there. There's that. And there's our gasket. What is this? Does that go in there? I don't know. Maybe it's in this part of it. I don't know. And we've got, yeah, it's pretty complete. Some kind of little felt washer. We've got that thing. Do we want to tear into this far into it? Guess we will. Let's see. So we're gonna see if we can just unhook this. There we go. So it just goes in and hooks. And so is this thing supposed to move? Because it is stuck. You would think it would, right? I mean, let's see. The spring of it goes against that piece of it. Surely. Let's see. Alright. I'm going to kind of reassemble this thing. At least partially. I've not looked up anything on this carburetor. I know nothing about it. Never had one like it apart. Hook that. The reason I'm doing this is I want to see how deep this thing sits. So it sits to about right there, which is full depth. That would be bottomed out in here. Now, what is its purpose? What does the spring do? Am I missing something here? Like, so maybe it is supposed to move. Maybe it was seized? I don't know. But we can reassemble something like that. Now we know what it is. So, if we take our new one, we might as well just do that while that's fresh in our memory. Use all new pieces. Might as well. I think it came with, did it come with the shaft? I think it did, yeah, it did. Did it come with the spring? Don't think there was a spring. So I guess we have to reuse our spring. And, you know, this looks like a very similar diameter, but this may be a throttle shaft. It's a throttle shaft bushing, I guess. Or seal, throttle shaft seal. We're not going to dig that far into it. I was just making sure, you know, this thing hadn't been apart at some point and maybe something left out. Alright, so we need our spring. So let's just do this. I don't think we need anything else other than the spring. So we've got this. I don't think it really matters on this. And then we've got the plastic piece, the white plastic piece. Already take it out. There it is. Alright, so the white plastic piece is going to go on here. Well, we're reusing our old white plastic piece. The hole in it was too small. It didn't want to go through. Alright, there's nothing wrong with this old one, so we will just reuse that. Spring. And whatever this thing is. So there's our assembly. And let's see how this fits down in here. It doesn't. Like, well, it fits tight. I would assume that it's supposed to fit snug in there, and it may be some kind of a vacuum, you know, vacuum draws this thing up maybe. I really don't know. I have no idea what it is. So we're gonna spray some brake cleaner in there. Carb cleaner. Oh, and it was pretty gummy in there. It looks much cleaner now. There's some really good brake clean too. Or, I keep saying brake clean, but carb clean. Well, man, I don't know on this thing. I have no idea what that thing is. And if it's supposed to move in that bore. I do know the new one fits much snugger. If we take, compare this one, you know, it fits pretty good. They are the same, roughly the same dimension. If we take this one, I mean it's a tight fit. It does go. I'm going to do some more cleaning and probably get some paper towels. Kind of get like some brake clean and some paper towels and go over there. I'm also going to hit this port here, this tube here, with some brake clean and just kind of spray in here with some brake clean and just kind of, you know, in here with some brake clean, all these ports in here. We're going to look up anything, any port we're going to spray with brake clean. Now, one thing we have not taken apart is this, and what I normally do, of course, we don't really know if this thing ever ran, is we're going to run this in. So we're at half a turn, 1 turn, 1.5, 2, 2 and almost a half. 2 and I don't know, quarter. So we will know 2 1/4 on this jet or mixture screw. Alright, is that as far down as we need to tear this thing? Like I said, I'm not going to do any of the bushings or seals or anything. I just don't want to tear that far down into it. We can check that later on. We can check for vacuum leaks around here and always pull it back off and do that, but I'm just not going to do it. I don't want to end up, breaking one of these screws off in here. So we'll leave it as is, and we can go back later and do it if we need to. Alright, I'm going to take some time to clean this thing up and bring y'all back. I was looking at this a little closer. I haven't cleaned anything up yet, but there's a tube in here. And I don't know if that tube's supposed to be in there or if it's supposed to be in here and it has fallen out and gotten stuck in here. We've also got what looks like a little jet in here. And we can take this thing out and clean it. Yeah, little jet. Looks like it might have a little check ball in it. Yeah, this carb's a little foreign to me. This tube's not quite centered. Man, I don't know if I should try to get that out. I might try to look up some pictures on this thing and see if I can tell if, looking at a picture, if it's got 2 tubes coming up out of the main body of the carburetor. I don't see what purpose that would serve down in here if there's no way to get to the other side of it. Like, what happens if we blow this through it? Don't think it went anywhere. Maybe it comes out here. Maybe it draws fuel up through there and up through the center of that tube. I don't know. Alright, I'm gonna clean everything up and I'll look up some pictures, see if I can find anything. Alright, I did a little cleaning. I don't feel real good about much of this. I don't know really what else to say other than that. So I did find a diagram, but it didn't really tell me much. And so we'll talk about it while I put this thing together. The diagram didn't tell me much. It didn't show any tubes, so they just omitted them from the diagram, I guess. And so I really don't know what to do. I don't want to mess that up trying to get it out. So I think we're just going to leave it. Looked through here. I don't see, if I shine a light, I don't see a spot that looks like it was supposed to accept the tube. Like something that's the diameter of the tube down in there. It's hard to see down in there. And I know I'm not going to be able to get it where y'all can see because I can't. Anyway, I don't see anything, so I'm thinking the tube is supposed to be in here. The other thing is this accelerator pump thing. So again, on this piece, it's also a really tight fit, whereas the old one, you know, will slide. I just don't have a good feeling about these, which is a shame, because the rubber on this piece that's supposed to seal down there is not in good shape. I mean, it's okay, but it's definitely kind of hardened and it's got a ridge on it. Will it seal? Probably. You know, it's not like it has to seal against pressure, but I mean, you can see there's, you know, it moves, you know, and oh, I think I jumped ahead. The part, what was useful, I guess, with the diagram is it actually showed, it labeled this as an accelerator pump. So that is what it is. This one, I can get it to go in there, but it doesn't move freely. And I just don't have a good feeling about it. I think it's going to bind up, you know, both ends of it. You know, just, they don't fit well. They're way too tight. There's no way they would ever move. And there's no varnish or scarring or anything in here that would cause it to not move. You know, it's definitely, these are just slightly too large. And so I guess we just put it back with the old ones. So, you know, we could sand them down, maybe, if it comes down to it, but I think we're just going to proceed ahead with reusing the old ones. And then if they just don't work, then we're going to reuse this part of it too. We're just going to reuse all the old stuff. Actually, that went on this end. Right? No, it hooked on the inside. I'm getting it all backwards. The spring kind of confuses me. You know? You would think. I mean, I guess maybe it's just, again, building it wrong. I don't know. Like that. So there's our assembly together, and that just drops in like that. See, that's to me what it should be like. And then on this end of it, similar deal. Once I got it cleaned up, you know, it just moves freely. You know, it was gummed up to begin with. And I have a feeling some of this gasket stuff that they put on here may have been part of that. But, you know, it may have gotten in here and kind of gotten all over everything on the inside. And I kind of forgot which that stuff, I mean, I put up, all I had to do to get it off was put some carb cleaner on paper towel, and the stuff just started wiping off. This is just a couple spots I missed. Alright. So, I think we're ready to just kind of go back together with it. We've taken it as far as we're going to go, I think. That's not the best gasket. Man, that's upside down, maybe? Can't be upside down. Won't line up right. Oh man, that is not a good fitting gasket. I mean, well, we can make it work. It's got a spot right there that's a little proud. It's causing issues right in there. But I think we can do it without trimming it. I hate to make that really thin. We're just going to have to kind of line everything up and kind of manipulate the gasket like that to get it together. I don't know. I guess we'll start with this part in here. Yeah, we're going to have to, because this gasket's going to have to fit on top of that, this white thing. So we'll do something like this. And shoot. Just might as well take that off. Alright, go back like that. Yeah, this is just not the best fitting gasket. Oh, and that thing has fallen. See, that's how this thing should be moving in here. I mean, it's gotta, there's no linkage connecting to this, so it's gotta be vacuum operated. And, oh, I see how that's how it works. So, the plastic thing seats in there to keep it positioned stationary. And so, probably, vacuum goes and sucks it up in there. So there's no way it would have worked with that other one, with the new one. That's just stuff you have to, you know, pay attention to when you're doing this. I'll give you another example, and this may just be fine, but you always compare your needle and seats. This one doesn't have a seat, but make sure it's the same distance, because if it's not, you're gonna have to adjust your float. So that one, it is. So we don't have to worry about that. And like mixture screws, stuff like that, compare your old one versus new one. New one's actually just a hair shorter. So I'm looking at the old one. There is nothing wrong with the old one. It's not bent or anything. We're gonna run the old one. A lot of the hard parts like that, I just reuse. And I shook my floats. Of course, I don't know last time any stuff was in here, but they shake. I mean, it shakes just fine. There's nothing on there. And I forgot to clean up the rest of the bowls, so I'm gonna have to come back and do that real quick. All right, I got the bowl cleaned up. Still a little staining in the bottom, but it's not anything that's gonna come out or anything and cause any issues. It's just stained. It does seem to kind of have a little bit of residue on it, like maybe it did have whatever that stuff was. I mean, you can see it's kind of all over this thing. I think whatever that gasket material was that they tried to use kind of started disintegrating all over everything. So we've got it ready to start going back together. We need to put this thing on, make sure that goes in the right hole and this goes in smoothly. And then I'm going to have to kind of manipulate this gasket as I start these screws, because unfortunately they don't line up. The center one does right here. So with the center one started, and kind of push this one. Got that one started. I don't remember if this one looked like it fit or not. This one, yeah, I think. Pull it that way a little bit. Okay. Now, before we start tightening these down, I'm going to kind of tweak that in case it needs to pull the gasket over. And that should be much better than the way it was before with that sealant. I don't think that would have worked. I think that would have caused issues. Alright. So, we're going to drop our new... There's no seat in here, just the needle. I've sprayed some brake cleaner down in there. It seats against the housing. And this float goes like that. We'll check the float level. We're just going to eyeball it. started. Come on. I can't see it to line it up. Just kind of gotta feel where it drops in. That looks like it's probably close. It goes. There. Alright. So, you can kind of see the line on the bowl, or on the float. I didn't spray this thing down. I really try to avoid spraying these things, especially the plastic ones. I could have sprayed this one, but this is just awful. I guess I'm always afraid something's going to cause it to get a pinhole. And we're going to leave it there. That's where it was. It looks decent. Normally if you get them kind of level, the problem is with this one, there's not really a level mark, but you can kind of see I don't know if that's a fuel line right there, but it is kind of straight with the base of the carb. So I think we're going to leave it like that. Now is the time where, of course after we get this jet in, where we kind of look at what parts we have and make sure we're not leaving anything out. And we look at the stuff we've taken off. Of course we got a lot of stuff left in our kit, but we're not replacing everything that came in the kit. Again, could have punctured a float there. Didn't. I didn't hit the float. I hit the bracket. But just be careful. Not like me. Yeah, it's me not trying to work on this table because it shakes. Yeah, so it looks like most of this other stuff is stuff that we're not going to address. We're not taking the throttle shafts out. That's pretty much everything here. And we're not taking out well plugs and stuff like that. So we're going to have to get this gasket off at some point. I should have already taken it off. Oh man. Look at that nastiness. What did they put on here? Yeah, I should have already done this. Kind of forgot about it. Yeah. Well, I'll take some time, try to get this off. I'm going to get a razor blade. I think that's about the only way we're going to get that off. Alright. Now, take a look, make sure you're not forgetting anything. Needle and seats in there, we got the jet in there, accelerator pumps all together, we've got this housing in here, and that's it. So we're ready to put the fuel bowl on. I did not take this nut off, but we're okay as long as it doesn't leak. Alright, I'm going to start off by putting this screw in it because that's the one that's kind of the first one that's off. I think once we get that one in, everything will kind of be lined up. Take a look at all your screws. I should have given you this advice on the way apart, but make sure they're all the same length. You know, if you've got some that are longer and shorter, keep track of where each one goes. So we've got this one started. I'm going to run it close to being up. And I'm going to jump over here to this other side. It's lined up, but I want to make sure that the two sides line up, and then we're probably going to jump over to the middle one and start it, and then hopefully the other two will just line up. It's a decent fitting gasket. I guess I was giving it a little, it looked worse than it was, I guess, to start with. It looks like they're all lining up. Once we got this is really mainly that, and then the center was just slightly off. I definitely couldn't have made one better. So and probably could have soaked this thing in my can of Berryman's, but if I wanted the whole housing to be all nice and pretty, but we don't really know anything about this tractor at this point. I haven't tried to start it, and if we decide later on that we want to make this carburetor look all brand new, we can do that. But at this point in time, I know nothing about it. I know that it turns over and that it supposedly ran. I'm not going to go crazy with spending a bunch of time on it until I know. And we know the inside of this carburetor is clean. Alright, that's all tightened up. All we've got left is this centerpiece. I'm going to go ahead and use this new one that we have. Now, it did come with a gasket. We didn't have a gasket on the old one. Let's put the gasket in place. And then there's not a lot to center this thing, so just center it. There we go. Alright, got our new gasket on there, and our last thing is the mixture screw. So I'm gonna just probably do 2.5 turns. So we're just gonna run it in until it stops. It was 2 1/4, but who knows if that was right before. I guess we could do 2 1/4. Alright, pretty much stopping right there. So half, 1, 1 1/2, 2, yeah, 2 1/2. We'll just call it there. It seems really far in, but yeah, it's probably close. Alright, that's it. We have a rebuilt carburetor. Like I said, it may not look the best, but we don't know if it runs. We don't know if it does anything. It actually looks worse than when I started. Well, I'll take that back. It looked pretty grungy. Then I sprayed it with brake cleaner, and now that we've been spraying it and kind of some of the gunk from the inside and all that's been coming off of it, it doesn't look that great. But I think what I'll do is I'll hit it with, we'll take this gasket off. I'm going to hit it with, getting a little low on carb cleaner, but I'm going to just spray it on the outside real quick, and that'll make it look a little better. Not enough in the can to make a difference. So it is what it is for now, and we'll spray it down if it runs and we want to make it look pretty. But it should run, hopefully. Just not sure about that tube in there. And then hopefully the accelerator pump seals like it's supposed to. We don't know. Don't know at all. So really, we did the whole thing with a couple screwdrivers. Used my pocket knife to clean up some gasket surfaces and kind of to help scrub the that nasty gasket stuff they had on there. Some little Scotch-Brite pad with some brake cleaner on it and a couple paper towels. That's it. Pretty basic tools. Alright, here's an addendum to this. So we went through and we rebuilt this one. I was a little scared of this little tube, that tube in there. We're fast forwarding a couple weeks. I wanted to just do full disclosure here. I'm having issues getting this tractor to run on this carburetor. I feel like it is just, as soon as you start trying to crank it, it just floods the thing out. It doesn't flood out sitting there like you can even cut off fuel to it and it still delivers too much out of the float bowl. Float level's correct. The needle and seat is working. It's shutting fuel off like it's supposed to. It doesn't flood out when it's just sitting. But when it cranks, you're cranking. As soon as you let off cranking, it's like it just drops fuel out. Fuel just runs out of the carburetor. It's not doing it as it's cranking. It's when you stop cranking. It's like it had fuel, was trying to push fuel up, and then as soon as you let off cranking, it drops it back down. I don't know. There is something not right with this. From what I've read on these carburetors, they're finicky. The reason I went ahead, when I was looking at carburetors and kits, I think I paid $30 or something for the kit. A replacement carburetor was like $300, like $200 even for aftermarket ones. And then I've read that people like the Zenith carburetors that came on the Ford 2000s. Those are running about $200 for a replacement. So I just kept looking and I found this Zenith clone. This came on like it was something in the 3000 series, maybe like a 3100 or something. It fit quite a bit of different tractors, but one of them that it fit was one, and I looked up the engine, and it was the same engine as this tractor, but in like a 3000 something series tractor, so a little bit more horsepower. I don't know where they got the more horsepower out of it, whether they just raised the governor speed and got a little bit more out of it, or maybe it's in the carburetor. I don't know, but it's the same engine, so I figured it would work and it looked like it hooked up the same. Once I got it, I mean, it does. The throttle linkage is set up the same way. The choke linkage is set up the same way. The fuel inlet on this one was right here. It came with this fitting right here. I took it off. Keep in mind, my tractor has been modified. They've redone the fuel. I don't know if this is OEM. I don't think so. I think it had a hard line that went into it. So this may have been the fitting that originally was on this tractor. I don't know, but it was set up over here. This carburetor is kind of universal. It's got 3 inlets you can use, and you just plug off the 2 that you don't use. So I moved the fitting over from my carburetor, which is just this 1/8 inch NPT fitting, and put it over here. Now these, I feel like they may have been like 1/8 inch straight thread. I went ahead, they weren't threading in well, or at least this one wasn't. This fitting wasn't going in here, and like I said, this fitting came from here, and it wasn't wanting to thread on here. And this, to me, looks like that's definitely a straight thread. That's not a pipe thread. So I went ahead, this is a pipe thread fitting. I don't know what these were. I ran a tap through them, and when I did, like when I was tapping this one, I held the carburetor like that so that the shavings would fall out. And then when I threaded that one, of course I did it like that, shavings fall out. I went ahead and I went ahead and took the float bowl off just to make sure, and I took the float off, and I blew from the seat out, so it would blow out this way. In case any shavings did get in it, it'd just blow back out that way. I didn't want to get any aluminum shavings stuck under the needle and seat. So this thing is ready to go on here. Your call on what you want to do. Like I said, this thing ran me about 80 bucks. And I think I paid about $30 for the kit. I will let y'all know how it runs on this carburetor, but I didn't have any luck getting this one going. Now, no telling how many people, I put this one back together like it came apart. I couldn't find a good enough exploded diagram to see if this one was correct. It's possible, you know, something's missing in this or whatever, or that tube is not where it's supposed to be. I don't know, but there is something not quite right about this. I'm tired of messing with it. I have been messing with this thing. And when I saw a carburetor for 80 bucks that was a different design, I went for it. So that's what we did. This is a much simpler carburetor than this one. And so I think we will have a much easier service life with this one. So do what you want to do, rebuild this one, replace with this one. Like I said, your choice, but I chose to replace it because I couldn't make this one run right. Like I said, I may have done something wrong. Someone else may have done something wrong when they had this one apart, but something is not right with this carburetor.